want our children taught in huge classes of up to 80 pupils.
And has anybody got a club by any chance? You'll see a club from over here. If you've got a club, it looks a bit more like a shamrock.
Or is the conventional wisdom that smaller is better? 8, not 80, borne out by the evidence.
How could we describe Cinderella's shoe? Let's have some hands up. Katie.
The answer to the question, does class size matter, is at one level very straightforward. Yes, it does, with the youngest children in school.
But there are significant practical, political and financial hurdles on the road to reducing class sizes and improving results and making teaching less stressful.
Our estimates are that you get an extra something like 2 months learning per year if you reduce class size by 30%. And that'd be great to have if we could afford the extra money. Oh, and by the way, we're going to have to build an extra 150,000 classrooms. So the reason I don't advocate class size reduction is because I think there are better things we could do with the money.
And this view is backed up by an authoritative worldwide research project, which places class size 106th in importance out of 138 factors affecting pupil achievement. And with enormous pressure on public spending, firm policy commitments to reduce class sizes are likely to be less visible on the political radar. So where is the debate headed? How do teachers feel about a subject so emotive that in the past it's led unions to the brink of strikes? And is it time to think radically?
It cannot be that the answer is always 30 children. We can be more flexible than that. There are some things where each teacher is doing their star turn, if you like, where they could easily do that with 120 children, but then have follow-ups with 10 children.
But according to another internationally respected expert in the field, the research does seem to support the conventional wisdom that smaller classes are effective in one area.
A very clear result was that the children in the smaller classes made better progress than the children in the larger classes, particularly in the first 2 years of school, so in the reception year and year one. And it was a particularly marked result for the children who were initially lower retaining children in literacy. After that, at the end of what we key stage 1, at the end of the infant stage, the results were not so straightforward and they didn't really show up thereafter. And that is very much in line with other research, particularly there's a big study in America, and they have a similar kind of result, really, which is that the biggest effects are in the early years.
So, if class size matters, it matters most in primary schools, according to the theorists. Do teachers agree? We asked 2 primary teachers to take part in an experiment. St John's Mosley Common Primary School in Manchester has classes of varying sizes. Year 3 teacher Andrea Heaton has a class of 18, whilst her colleague Year 5-6 teacher Joanna Walker teaches 28 pupils. We asked them to swap classes for one lesson and compare notes.
I've taught class sizes below 20 for the last 2-3 years, so obviously going into a larger class I'll have to see, the difference and see whether I can get round to them all. I'm not going to ask the children to move around as much. I'm going to have them sort of sat in their places and teach from the front more than carpet work and individual group work. Because of the nature of the setup of the classroom, I think it will be hard to do group work, purely again for the space and the layout of the classroom.
I haven't taught a class as small as Miss Heaton's for about 15 years now, so it will be quite interesting for me to see now what it's like to teach in a small class situation. Knowing that I had so much more space in the room, one of the activities that I'm going to do with the children is for the children physically to make themselves into a long number line. Now, I couldn't possibly do that in here.
Enjoy.
Enjoy yourself, Miss Heaton. Ah, bonjour. When I say go, I want you to order your numbers. Make yourselves into a long number line.
Good morning, Year 5 and 6.
Good morning, Mrs. Teacher.
So, first activity I want you to do is, can you write 3 things on your whiteboard that you know about a biography? Hello.
Oh,
How was that?
That was great. Very, very different than being in my class.
In what way?
So I purposely planned a get up and go activity because the children do like to get up and go and be actively involved.
Oh, who's got the smallest number? Smallest number has to be down here.
And it was very easy for me to pick up straight away on children that were confused, or children that had done it wrong, or children that were in the wrong place on the number line. That was what I'd planned for them to be able to make themselves into a number line. There's not a chance of me being able to do it with 28 children in my class because there just isn't the room.
OK, those of you who were writing the CV for Charlotte Bronte, how did we find it? And it's getting round the children. One child at one end put the hand up and it was with you in a minute, I'll get back to you in a moment, and you physically, you know, manoeuvring between the tables and chairs, chair legs, table.
That's right.
Check your spelling of Bronte. Check your spelling, especially when you're copying from information.
Because I found it was absolutely brilliant being able to give such quick feedback to children, because I was able to get round them quickly because there were 10 less of them. So I was able to give children that needed support the support quickly, and I was able to give feedback to other children and just basically know exactly what everybody was doing and where they were up to and the problems that they were having, and mark as I went along, because I normally have 28 books to mark.
I now have a big pile of marking to do, an extra 10 books. Thank you very much. Yeah, heavy, Jamila. Lots of books there.
Our small-scale experiment seems to fit the accepted view. Teachers generally prefer smaller class sizes, and the head teacher of this primary school continues to prioritise this ambition.
They would hate to lose the fact that the class sizes are small, just to be big for the sake of being big. Financially, it'd be great. For me, it'd make my life so much easier. But it's for the children. So it's not about making my job easier, but it's about what's best for the children. And the staff are quite passionate about the fact that the children get the most from a small class. Too small, I'd say below 15, and the dynamics don't work as well. But about 20, 22, which is our standard numbers, then that tends to work very well.
This primary has smaller class sizes than most. In the UK, we have the biggest primary class sizes of almost any developed country, an average of 26 pupils. There's a cap of 30 pupils per class in Key Stage 1. But what's the perfect number?
Particularly in the States, there has been a strong view that below 20 in a class is important. Unfortunately, that's got a lot to do with the research that's been done in the States, where they've compared class sizes of about 17 with class sizes of about 23, 24, 25. So the midpoint between those is conveniently 20. Our research suggests that reductions in class sizes can have beneficial effects, and there's not an obvious point when it sort of knocks in or knocks out.
If the academic research on the optimum number of pupils in a class is inconclusive, the same cannot be said for how teachers feel. They are unambiguous, not about any magic perfect number, but about the simple contention that smaller is better.
In 2009, we carried out a survey of over 1,000 ATL members to find out what they thought about class sizes. 96% of them said that they felt there should be a maximum class size limit for all classes across primary and secondary. About 3/4 of them felt that bigger classes had a negative effect on their stress levels. Many of them also believed that larger classes had a large impact on pupils' ability to make relationships with staff and staff with pupils, meaning that it makes it much more difficult for staff to provide individual support for pupils and to provide personalised learning for those pupils.
Despite this commonly held view, some academics argue that big classes can and do work, but it means doing things differently.
What my research suggests is that we should be focusing on teacher professional development, a relentless focus on making every teacher realise that they have to get better. Not because they're not good enough, but because they can be even better. I think we should give serious thought to actually having larger classes rather than smaller ones, but giving teachers much less contact time. The average English teacher in England is in front of kids about 1,100 hours per year. In many Japanese schools, they have classes of 40, but they're only in front of kids 550 hours per year, half as much. And the rest of the time, they're working with their colleagues, trying to come up with better ways to teach.
No one is saying that you can't have really good teaching in large groups and large classes. If we've learnt one thing from research on class size is, it's encouraging the adaptability of teachers to the context. And for too long, really, we've not thought about the importance of these contextual factors. We rather assumed it's just about teaching and it's just about learning. But, we do respond to the context we're in. So if in schools we're thinking very intelligently about how to use different sizes of classes for particular teaching purposes, that's fine.
And experimenting with class sizes to make the best use of the best teachers was exactly what the management of Sydney Smith School in Hull began to do in 2007. The school in a socially deprived area was in special measures. The teaching of English and maths were identified as areas of great concern. The solution was radical. Walls were demolished and 2 classrooms, each designed for 30 students, became one, holding 60.
You've got a slip of paper on your desk, white paper. It's got a set of axes like they are on the board. All I want you to do with that is plot the points that are shown on the board. It's a very basic task. See how you cope with it.
I suppose it was a combination of 2 things. The first one was that we did have a shortage of teachers in English and maths. But the second thing was it was about trying to maximise the number of students who could actually be taught by the outstanding and good and outstanding teachers in the school. And this was one way to do it. We've tended to aim it at the higher ability students. The lower ability students we still keep in smaller classes.
The research on teacher quality shows that the quality of the teacher, how good that teacher is the single most important determinant of how much a child will learn. In the classrooms of the most effective teachers, children will learn twice as much as they do in the average classroom. And in the classrooms of the least effective teachers, children learn half as much. If the teacher quality is high, then I think we can start thinking about much more flexible ways of organising learning.
That's exactly the approach taken at this school. English teacher Emma Bibby has been rated as outstanding by Ofsted.
What I would now like you to do, please, is read their paragraph, and I would like you to tick or cross next to each of the assessment criteria as to whether or not they've included those features in their paragraph. If they have, tick it. If they haven't, cross it. All right? In terms of teaching the double classes, it's been great for me because you get into a habit of teaching the same lessons in the same way. But obviously when you have 60 students in your class who all need to make progress, you have to change your teaching style. In terms of behaviour management, I'm fortunate enough to have developed enough skills over the years to be able to control most situations. Again, the students, because they're constantly on task, focused in what they're doing, they don't have time to mess about, to be honest. Therefore, they present positive behaviour most of the time. You can see already how well you've done. All right, look at how many people are now getting a B, and you've still got 2 years before you finish your chances of sitting your exam. Okay, so well done today. Round of applause. Let's go, American. Excellent.
You're measuring height and arm spans at the back there. Heights are in the middle. Once you've done your measurements, stuck them on there, you can sit back down and carry on. It's challenging because you've obviously got a lot of kids to work with, and you've got to make sure that they can access the work at all levels. But at the end of the day, it's also rewarding because to see what they come out with at the end of it is absolutely superb. We've got some kids in here who have already got a grade C in the GCSE that were targeted less than that.
6'3". Don't mess with that.
Look, watch the air, people.
182.
182?
Yeah.
So you're just under 6.